Namaskar and welcome to this exciting episode of Sattology Debunking Mythology. Sat means truth, Logos means a study or science. Sattology means a science of truth, a study of truth. Opposite of that is mythology, which is science of fake lie imagination, study of fake lie imagination. Uh, do join our 12x programs on debunking mythology, and also please comment on these videos because that's what helps us to make us better, even better. Today I have very, very special guest. She has done a wonderful research on these topics, especially dating of Mahabharata, and also she came up with a chart on the 56,000 year history, which most of the Western people are going to reject. Academics, I'm saying, are going to reject because their idea goes back to just 4,000 BC. So today we are going to talk about the Indus Valley civilization and why it has some links, or it has all the links with Mahabharata and ancient history of India. So without delay, let us welcome Srimati Rupa Bhaty. Namaskar.
Namaskar, Rupaji.
So Rupa ji,
So
yeah,
very much welcome to you. Uttarayan bilkul paas mein hai, so must be enjoying the time. Of, actually, Uttarayan already happened on 23rd of
23rd.
December.
That's right.
Yeah. So this is the Makar Sankranti where the sun's transit will be in Makar
That's right.
Rashi. So that is what Surya Siddhant has given us the way to understand the time.
And Uttarayan is a very auspicious time for all the spiritual activities also, isn't it?
Uh, it happens so there is some kind of a confusion with in the Vedic world. In fact, the people, the Sanskrit based people, they have not yet accepted that the winter solstice is not the Udag Ayan, that means the sun's hopping into the northern hemisphere. So they still believe that, and few of the civilizations, that is very northern civilization, something like Kalasha people and these people, they celebrate the new year on winter solstice. But definitely it is auspicious. Why? Because it is the sun's transit on the Makar, and that is the Tropic of Capricorn. So that day, on the Uttarayan day, it starts its northern course. In fact, it is still in the southern hemisphere. That is, the sun is in the southern hemisphere, but it is now going towards the northern hemisphere, and it starts its journey from that day. So it obviously becomes auspicious because that is one of the Vishnupada. So in one Vishnupada, that is the Tropic of Capricorn, is on the northern hemisphere, which goes through Gaya, and that is why we have those stories about Gaya and Vishnu, Vamana avatar. Likewise, there should have been some stories about the Tropic of Capricorn and Makar, and that is why it has become so auspicious because of its northern course.
Yeah,
But due to the time and all, and some of my blogs, I have written that we knew the Vadava Agni, and you won't believe that Vadava Agni is exactly on the longitude of Kurukshetra, Avanti, Lanka, and beyond that. So uh, it is mentioned there that there used to be a Vadava Agni by Sugriva in Rama, and you will find a very active volcano till to this date, which is inside the sea. So Vadavagni means the Agni below the sea, which was seen by these people, and they knew that it happens to be on the same longitude. This is something very interesting that is coming up in Ramayana.
yeah,
So today, that is what we are going to discuss: how old the things are in our scriptures and how to correlate them.
yeah. So in Bhagavad Gita very clearly says that the Urdhvam, when they say Urdhvam Gachanti, and there is also Uttarayanan, where people who leave their bodies in the when the sun is in going towards the north, Uttarayanan,
Not
and at that time when you leave the body, you go to heavenly, you attain the heavenly abodes, and it is very striking that Bhishma waited for that also.
ah,
So
exactly.
Bhishma was waiting for that, and so it also gives an idea that how important is this change of direction of the sun. Uh,
Sun. Right.
it is different than Shukla Paksha and Krishna Paksha, because
Ah, it is different than
those are the
uh,
movements of the sun, of the moon, not on the
moon.
sun.
Ji, ji.
Uttarayan is the movement of the sun.
Yeah.
And so, coming to this concept in the Western academics have about the Indus Valley civilization. Now, most of them think it's in Pakistan, and so it's Pakistan civilization. But
Exactly.
the fact is that they don't like it, because the moment they accept it, their Islamic theory is debunked. And they all know that the land was acquired from the Hindus in
Hmm.
1947. Now, if you look at the Afghanistan people have no idea, because they destroyed so much. So that this generation doesn't have any clue of their connection to India also. Only in the
Exactly.
Indian context we remember them, but they don't have any such feeling.
Hmm.
So, and that's where the Western misconception comes, because the Western misconception is due to the small nation states, European style small nation states,
Exactly.
where even though the entire Europe is just one language and one culture, but their boundaries are more important than anything else. So so when they impose that on the Indian history, and I'm asking a little longer question so that you can answer in detail. And when they impose that on Indian history, then it's a completely non-starter, because Indian history goes from, you can say, Persia to Cambodia or Vietnam. So
Exactly.
it's a large area we are talking about.
Largely.
So what is your view on that, Rupaji?
Yes, this is very difficult, actually, a very difficult question, but very important question. How to define the Indus Valley civilization?
That's right.
So recently, I found a place called Birana and Birana, which cognates very similar to Varana. So what is happening here is we don't find those names. Many of the names get reduplicated, or kind of change comes into the phonetics of those names. And this is one glaring example. Bhirana, uh, whose name as Varana comes in Mahabharata. And you will be amazed that the position of the Varana is given between the Saraswati and Drishadvati river, uh, is mentioned between Yamuna and Saraswati. And there is one small tributary, Paleo Channel, is seen near Birana, where one can easily locate the place between the two paleo channels. There is a very small paleo channel, and probably that river could have been the Varana river. Now, since the river is not there, Saraswati is not there. Saraswati's one tributary was Varana. Uh, I could understand this with the help of the geography and the connection with the Mahabharata. And it goes very well with the placement of time, which has been shown by Sri Nileshopji, 5661 BCE. And Birana is almost 7500 BCE. जो वहाँ का जो inhabitation है, that must be that old. And that was an old city. Probably it was going on till Mahabharata times. And thus we have this name. So in the Indus Valley civilization, this is one of the oldest civilization after Rakhigarhi. Um, these are the contemporary civilizations which is going on by the Paleolithic, by the Paleo channels of Saraswati. So this is again one of the great find. In fact, one can easily understand the phonetics of Bhirana and Varana. It is not very difficult to understand that, and that is how we can locate the I could locate one of the oldest city mentioned in Mahabharata, one of the oldest paleo channel, uh, which is seen today, could have been from the Mahabharata times and before Mahabharata times. So there was a continuous habitation. Now when Mahabharata and Ramayana comes into our mind and picture, we never correlate it with the Indus Valley civilization, or we never correlate it with the Ramayana times civilization. People think that the Gangetic Plains must not have been having any kind of urban settlement, something like the Indus Valley civilization. So that is far from truth, in fact. We have the burn fries and such taxa things coming up from different layers of those times. And Lahura Dev is one of the greatest example. And if those things are coming up like millets, ragi, and all those uh, uh, taxas are coming up uh, in those layers, it seems that there had been a very good urban civilization who were eating these. These are the edible things, and which has been found. So one can very much understand that there had been a great civilization on the Gangetic Plains also. And now it's something very interesting that we find the whole of these remnants of those places in Rigveda also. And in Rigveda, we find that they are completely river based civilizations. We have talked earlier also about this. So these river based civilizations um, come with an idea that people lived by the riversides for the food. The first food must have been the fish, and that is why it is named yeah, Udaraka. So such names come in Sanskrit, so we need to understand each name, its etymology, and how and why these names are being given. So Udraka comes from Udra word, and which means water. So it gives a PI form also, Vodra, and from Vodra water comes. So even the water word has come from the uh, Sanskrit name for uh, uh, water, Jal, Pani, Apa. So there are many names for uh, water in Sanskrit, but one of the name is Udra. And probably this appears to me like there had been so much of confidence, so much of things going on by these civilization, river-based civilization, that the names of places didn't appear during those times. So when Varana appears, it appears to me that it is a recent time names, and probably during the Ramayana times only the name must have come up, because this place is very happening place. So this has all the kinds of layers where studies are going on. Probably it may go, uh, the dates can push back more if more layers are being studied. So it's very much, in fact, we are burdened with these facts that we should now start recognizing what's the text, the Indian texts are telling. So that is how I correlate that Indus Valley civilization is not just from the Birana time, that is 7,000, 8,000 BC, but it is going beyond back also, because we already saw that there is one site on Rivat Valley, which is the Sushoma River, Rigvedic Sushoma River. So Rigvedic Sushoma River has one site which has the wall footing, which is very urban, very properly done. A wall footing dating back to 45,000 before present. And this is the time, I would say, uh, the challenges started, began with the climate. And they started facing uh, the last glacial maximum movement that started from there. So the ocean levels started uh, receding from 40,000 before present. And these were the time when there should have been some shift towards more towards southern areas like Narmada. And that is why we find Bhimbetka civilizations remnants to be dated as of now from 35,000 before present. So there was a continuous civilization going on pan India. So it is not that the Rigvedic people were just living in the northern region and were exploring things. With the help of the word Agastya itself, we can understand that when they named it to Canopus. So the word itself means that it was a pole star. So the southern population must have uh, seen this and named accordingly. And that has a function. The word has a function, two functions. So that also I have already elaborated in your talks before. So it shows that from 45,000 BC, Rivat Valley Site 55, which is an Indus Valley civilization site, can we call it urban? Because that could have been because that is a wall footing. So how to define the urban civilization? The urban civilization is one of the things which is choking my throat today also. So it gives me an immense kind of idea that if we have a very modern behavior from last 2 lakh 50,000 years, and in that modern behavior, we were able to communicate with a very sophisticated language like Sanskrit, and we are noting down the things from 34,000 BC. What about 45,000 BC? What about Varana coming up as a name? So when the names started coming up in Indian Peninsula, before that we see that Rigveda is not having any name. But by the time of Mahabharata, we have Varana, which can be easily identified, and it also has many places which can be identified. Already, many authors before me have identified the places with the help of the Mahabharata text and Ramayana texts also. They have created the maps also, and that is what we follow today uh, in the path of Rama, uh, for the path of Rama, what he had taken. And likewise, we have all the names intact till to this date. So for 12,000 years, if the names can be there. So what was happening before that? Which names are, why these names are not appearing in Rigveda? How far we can go with the uh, text Rigveda? What is it? What is this text trying to tell us about the deep antiquity of Indian civilization? So how to define this Indus Valley civilization is something pinching me today. So I would like to hear from you how you take it. So 45,000 before present, and then we have 34,000 before present for Brihadratha, his timing, and then his placement in Rigveda in last and first mandala. How old Rigveda could be? What was Indus Valley civilization actually? 16,000 BC, Lahura Dev, we have rice evidence. How old the whole pan India civilization can. And with now the names coming up like Kurukshetra, which comes itself in Brahmana first time in Gemini Brahmana, which says that now Agastya leaves the Kurukshetra. That means it is 26,000 BCE. So if Brahmana is having this memory, then how old this Indus Valley civilization?
So the standard of dating as per the BC and AD is faulty. Everybody knows, even the church-based people, which who have created this particular narration, they also know that this is the scenario. But the problem comes in the minds of the scholarly people driven by the scholarly consensus. Like somebody was telling me journalistic standards, that I accept good journalistic standard. Now what is that standard? Similarly, scholarly consensus, which is, what is the scholarly consensus? This means it's just like they're trying to bring politics in academics, and which is like, if this is the view of 20 people and they are all wrong, but still that is the view. Now rest of the people have to fight for it. Now, and also there is a problem in the Western psyche coming from the church and Abrahamic faiths is that questioning is not allowed, and that culture is becoming very prominent in the American universities. So if you question the history, those students are in a big problem, because if you say 4000 BC the civilization started, probably the European civilization started. Now 4000 BC will also mean that they were all speaking Sanskrit to a large extent, and that's why they evolved
Exactly.
their languages from Latin, Sanskrit to Latin to Greek to Roman. And then one interesting thing happened with me. I had called somebody to work on the road in front of my house, and he showed me his flag, and that was a Romani flag. Romani flag has the same wheel of Vishnu in the center, like in India. In India, they say Ashok pillar, but generally that wheel belongs to Vishnu. It's Sudarshan, but they don't did not show the blazing fire coming out of Sudarshan, but they just show the wheel, and it is Kal Chakra also. Many meanings can be attributed, but the fact is that these Romani people have been acknowledged by the world to have come from India, and they said these were the nomads. Now, if these people can come from India, why not the others? You know,
Of course,
so this is the reverse Aryan migration, and this is the fact that they're working so hard to hide. And so Indus Valley civilization comes in the path, and recently in Basra in Iraq, Sri Ram's images were found in the rocks. Person carrying a bow and arrow along with a wife and a brother. Now, this is very clearly Ram, Lakshman, and Sita. How did they reach over there? And they say that since 600 Common Era is nobody is Hindu over there. And what about the Yazdi people who still believe in the worship of Durga? They worship Mother, and that's why. And what about Kurds? Kurds are the people who have maintained their connections with India from generations. They consider India as their home country. And there are Armenians who still today, Lithuanians are going out of the way right now. Latvia, Lithuania, earlier Yugoslavia was broken up. Croatia, all these Eastern Bloc countries have maintained their close connections with India. What to speak of Kiev and Ukraine? Kiev has the biggest Hindu temple and of Krishna. Now, how did people come? See, if you do not have the capacity, you cannot learn something. Same thing happens with the culture, that something is in your genes from generations. Suddenly it comes in front of you, people start accepting it and finding it more logical. So all these facts, they have no answers to anything, but they will all attack Indus Valley civilization, because if Indus Valley civilization is proved to be disconnected from Hindus or Sanatan Dharma, then they can easily point questions at the entire Sanatan Dharma, and they still continued with
exactly,
colonization.
exactly. Yeah, that is why they are never connecting IVC with Mahabharata.
That's right.
And whatever things you find in Mahabharata, supposedly now you find that metal is appeared. So by 6000 BC, we already have copper here. So the Chalcolithic period or something like that, Neolithic periods before that, we need to redefine in our Indian context, because we are older than the other civilizations in many things. So once I had pointed out this also, because our Neolithic is very different. Our Paleolithic is very different from the entire world. So we have more sophisticated tools from quite an early times, which is more of the Neolithic, which the other people were experiencing Paleolithic during that. So that is why I think that they have disconnected IVC from all the Indian type of whatever Puranic stories are there or things are there. But this Varana and Bhirana, these two words connect. We are connecting now Mahabharata with directly one side, and probably that cannot give us any name. That site cannot give us any script or something like that, which can show us that it was a Mahabharata times Varana. but definitely the phonetic change and the name itself very clearly indicates that uh, it's an evidence. One has to deal this with like an evidence from Mahabharata, and one has to deal that this is the Indus Valley civilization. Now we are able to connect one of the place at least, like Varana. I cannot say anything about Kalibangan. I cannot say anything about other IBC sites. But this site is definitely before Mahabharata, and it's continuing till Mahabharata and probably after that also. And this is giving a very good urban city development civilization. And this layer is giving us so many coded wares and everything, which shows that what kind of things were happening during the Mahabharata times. And one can easily correlate with the text also.
Somehow Sattology is becoming popular in Pakistan. So I want to see most of the Pakistani people, who you are watching this channel. This is your real history. You are connected to Hindu civilization for a very long time. Artificial destruction of civilization, which started from Alex Cunningham when he made a road using the bricks of the Mohenjo-daro.
IBC site. Yeah,
Yes,
Harappa.
Harappa
Harappan site.
sites, and they made a road between Lahore and Peshawar. Now, if
Yeah,
you if you
that
dig
long road that
the railroad,
uh,
you,
even for the tracks, railway tracks also they started
so
taking the.
if you really want to find out your identity about your Hindu roots, so there is no like the truth, and I'm speaking to them directly. If there is no, you cannot hide the history actually. Even though your
Yeah,
religious beliefs may have changed, but your roots are still connected to Hindu culture. And
yeah,
if you respect them, only those countries progress who remain connected to the original culture.
exactly.
Whether we see Islamic attacks on any land, and whether we see now there is a huge movement in Africa also now. In Africa, people are, and luckily we have a lot of viewers from Africa today also. So when they connected, what colonization destroyed their native cultures, native languages, native traditions. This is a fantastic way of knowledge based education, where we dig out our past history. And the history has shown Japan has progressed because of their strong connection with their ancient past. Cambodia, Vietnam, they all came out of that colonization. Thailand came out of colonization. India is waking up. India is the last to wake up, but India is waking up. Other countries woke up at least 60 years back. So,
Exactly.
but in India, the problem is the democracy right now, and it was. So, it's not the perfect solution. So, Rupaji, my question to you is that how important it is to establish the Mahabharat, because Mahabharata was spoken in today's Pakistan, Takshila, and it was spoken by by Vaishampayan to Janmajaya, and again repeated again in Indraprastha also to Vajranabh. Two people heard the Mahabharata also in the initial days. So, what do we say about the answering the Western academics and also the Middle Eastern academics who continue to peddle the Western thought process, and also the Indian narratives, which you and many of your colleagues are very well establishing. So, what do you have to say? A message from us to these people, even I would say us to us, because they are also the same
This
culture
is
in a way.
more up to us, in fact. So now when we start connecting one of the site IVC Varana to this, now what about Multan? That is the Multan and the Kubha River from Rigveda. So all those areas in Pakistan, Afghanistan, and beyond that also, that could have been Uttar Madra, and when they segregated into different factions. So you see that there are all imprints present till Afghanistan. So we have, uh, in fact, till Uttar Kuru, that is the Kyrgyzstan areas, and more beyond that also, because much of the Arctic is also being mentioned in many things, which has been taken by Sri Tilaji also. So to understand that, when we look at Mahabharata or Ramayana, we see with the lens of true dharmic nature. When we try to read Mahabharata or try to read Ramayana, the first picture that comes into our mind is Ramanand Sagar and those P.R. Chopra thing, and the lavishness of those, which will never go from our mind. In fact, that is completely imprinted there. And that creates a kind of segregation to see through whether these were the Indus Valley civilization, whether these were beyond that, or yeah, how to redefine it with the texts is very difficult. But they are not able to get connected. So when we say Multan, so Multan, that was the place where the Surya temple comes up because of the leprosy of Sri Krishna's son. So he gets that, and because of that, he's told to revere the sun god, and that place comes up. But still, we never get connected with that. वो एक live site है already. Multan is there. So why Multan? Why that area? Why not somewhere in Gujarat, which was their place, Dwarka? Why somewhere not in Mathura? Why that place only? What was Krishna's son doing in Multan at that time? Uh, what kind of thing was happening between Indraprastha and Multan that day? So those kind of questions will never come. I come up with these questions. Why? Because the geography plays a very great role. The Multan, and after that, if you are looking at the Valvayaj, the word comes in Sanskrit text, which shows that there had been lapis lazuli. And now you connect with Sri Krishna, where one of the verse says that he has dyed his hair blue in color. So Neela word comes up. So when did this color appear in the history, and why this color became a fascination? Why the indigo became a fascination? Now indigo has indic the name Indu only, which means the plant growing in the Hindu sites. So we were growing this and we were giving this color to the world. And when I researched on the blue color, when people started naming this color as me. So uh, Valvayaj is happening place, and we come across that Sri Krishna used to like take much of the taxes for uh, the shipments which were coming in the Dwarka region, and those are the factual things. You make the Yuga Purusha into a normal Purusha also. So now he is a human being. As a human being, he's here, and we revere definitely. But he has lived his life as a human also. So once we try to connect these things, their survival, their trade, uh, then we will be able to understand how to connect with the IVC civilization, Dholavira, Dholera. These are the later phases, the earlier phases, like Birana and all those. Yeah, and its connection with the Silk Route, what we were producing. So we have already produced cotton by the time of Mahabharata. So we have red turban. We have already started using some kind of a color. Must have been a very mundane color, not like what I'm wearing today, and a very black, dark red. But definitely they had tried with the textiles and other things in India. The ikat that spread it till Sunda land, Thailand, and these areas, Vietnam, till there. the procedure of weaving the ikat spreaded a lot. One of the tombs from I think either Egyptian. I'm forgetting because I have very great difficult memory problem. Or either in the Chinese tomb, the ikat has been found. So that is what we find in the Ajanta Elloras also. So that has already begun. Long back, the cotton threads were found inside the beads of copper bead uh, thing. So the cotton and copper already is going on back to 6000 BC. Exactly, lapis lazuli must have been coming into much picture during that time, and that was a great trade kind of a thing, which probably Krishna and his people were doing. Uh, they were mining these, and probably they were uh, trading this. So once we connect the few things which we see already in the text, like the blue colored, blue hued, his curls, hair curls were dyed. So they were using this because we see the blue color being used. In fact, the powder of the lapis lazuli being used by the Egyptian the mummification shows that those things, and even the colors used there is quite prominently very much Afghanistani. So in that way, when we connect, we try to understand. We can very easily then place that yes, the Mahabharata was happening with IBC, and they have kind of connection, and that is Virana, the word, the phonetic semblance of that easily sums up this. And we need to understand from the dharmic point of view, if we go little away from that and we start looking into the facts which are already present in text, then we are able to, in fact, date them more accurately. Where to place the Rig Veda, where to place the Ramayana, where to place Mahabharata. So I would just suggest the new researchers to look into the more facts. In fact, try to find out those facts apart from the yes, that dharmic thing is very much necessary. Your roots are very much necessary. But in those texts only, these things are also available. So look into that also. Try to understand what they are trying to say. Just not get overwhelmed. Oh, the blue colored. Blue hued hair of Sri Krishna, how would he appear? So, of course, you have to imagine that, but then you have to connect why blue color, from where that blue color came, the history of blue color. So, when did this name come up? And when did we try, our eyes try to segregate and the different colors, and how we started making colors, using colors in cloth material or in any things. For the eyelashes, people used to have this color. And like, one of the very interesting thing I found was that in the Amazon jungle, the people who are very isolated, they use the method of threading their eyebrows. So once I tweeted that if you're imagining that the Chinese people brought this thing, or we had some kind of thing to have our hair done, haircuts and things. So the uncontacted people, those are completely away from our civilization in every manner. They can create their bows and arrows still to this date very accurately without Dhanurveda. They can have their haircuts and all the napit things done very properly, their nails done and everything. So, but they are completely uncontacted people, and still they are doing that. So probably this has been a very old traditions, which when spreaded it went into those isolated and became isolated. But it definitely happened. That is the modern human behavior, and that is a very civilized behavior. In fact, you cannot say that they are uncivilized kind of people, and they're more civilized probably. So today I will conclude in this this way, that we need to look into our text in a very with a very different lens, so that we can connect with the ground realities. In fact, but these are the ground realities they were having.
Thank you so much, Rupaji, because this information is valuable, and we are doing this information based on the Vedas as well as using modern techniques. Modern is a relative term. Every age of people have called themselves modern.
Modern,
So
yeah.
it's not a comparative term. It's not. It's a relative term. Like you cannot say that we are more modern than before. Then the modern parameters are how many people are healthier, how many people are more educated. If you look on those aspects, then the earlier times are more modern than us, because we are creating.
Exactly.
So if my very simple question is, are the number of hospitals increasing or decreasing? Increasing. So are we getting more modern or we are getting more aggressive right now? So the earlier people had more healthier lifestyles, and so therefore they were more modern, definitely. So but anyway, it's a relative term. It's a subject to debate. And the high speed roads, whether it's autobahn or American highways or freeways, they have created more accidents. It's just a faster path to death. Accidents, it's just happening. And also we have made delivery of killing of humans for any reason faster by making guns and all those kinds of things. Earlier
Exactly.
times, and also there was no concept of slaughterhouses. We all know that the most of the diseases from 15th century till now have come from slaughterhouses, and including the latest pandemic that we are facing is also from something like that. So we have just made the delivery or death easier for people, killing easier. And including animals, we are not protecting them. The animals which we should be protecting and we should be taking care of them as humans, we are not doing that. So we have to ask ourselves, are we modern or we are not modern? And also, and it all ties back to Vedic wisdoms and all ties back to ancient philosophy, where if you can question that the scientific way of discussing and finding conclusions has completely vanished today from the society. And so there are many parameters that we need to start questioning ourselves more than others. And we all want dharma to be everywhere. Dharma is a middle path, not extreme positions. Dharma is in the middle. It's neither left nor right. Therefore, I always say that I'm a dharmic winger, not a right winger or a left winger. So for me, both are wrong because both are extreme philosophies coming from France. So Rupaji, as usual, thank you so much. And you're doing a wonderful work with your research, bringing a new thought process and teaching the Western academics in their language, but from Vedic perspective. Namaskar
Exactly.
and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.